Welcome back to the NLC. It is the second game. Champion Select is on the road. Where should we focus after watching that beautiful game first?
I think for me, it's very interesting that X7 have stayed on red side because that can signify quite a few things. I think it's one of those situations where if you stay on the same side, maybe you're saying the draft wasn't necessarily the draft wasn't necessarily the issue, but we could change things up. We could stay the same. Or what a poor way to put it. What I'm saying is, they might just think the gameplay was more the issue. Let's run it back again. In terms of the bans, for now, we're seeing a lot of basically it's the exact same. The only thing we're missing now is actually Bifrost have removed away the Hecarim as opposed to first picking it, which is going to force X7 to remove away the Jinx. So we end up in exactly the same spot as we did coming into the first picks. With the exception now, Hecarim is gone. What was the other ban that was missing? I'm trying to rack my brain on it. Caitlyn, that's right. See, Mikma's on the ball.
He's always on point.
But now, what we do see from C-Boy, instead of this sort of farming mid-game champion that sort of hits item and a half, that can put a lot of pressure on the team fights, now it's more about hitting level 6, early game priority here for C-Boy on the volley bear, trying to make early plays. So what I want to see now from Bifrost is a little more setup towards the lanes, kind of similar to what they had last game, maybe a little more traditional as opposed to having the Senna and the Scion, but still along those lines where they can provide volley bear with a little more CC. X7 opening
Yasuo
with a
is available.
Diana, yeah, which
we get to see that.
Could definitely signal the Yasuo Diana combination. We'll have to see because it can still get paired up with other ADs, like for example, there the Jace being hovered. But let's see. I think it'll be quite the bold statement to lose in game 1 and then come out with the Yasuo Diana. But it is certainly in Temp's wheelhouse.
Mikmar, we had Shikari, we were talking about Shikari, and he was supposed to lose that matchup. He was supposed to lose that matchup. It was in favor of Camille, but the return of the king, as Trouble usually brings into the desk. Oh, yeah, we need to talk about that as well. But Shikari now, do you believe that the Jace is like some sort of problem for Shikari, or is he comfortable?
It was Ian's show. I think Shikari had the upper hand, even though he got countered. Now he has the counter pick. That's what I was talking about. So it'll be fun to see if he can pick out some champion to counter this Jace, and if he will then stomp even harder than he already did, because he performed really well first game.
Now, I will say there is still technically the caveat that this Jace could end up in the mid lane, so Jaeger still could get counterpicked. But for now, X7 will go for the Kai'Sa, which says to me they might start to lean towards some dive on top of the Diana. We'll have to see, because obviously we've seen a lot of Kai'Sa mid, and this could be a response technically from Tempt into Fury's Ahri. So we have to see a couple more of the cards get laid out flat for us on the table. But in terms of bans now, I think for Bifrost, you're still looking at engaged supports. You could take away the Rakan if you're really, feeling a little bit shaky in terms of what Jewel can do in terms of a combination with Odie. But right now, they're more scared of Shikari's champion pool. They're going to remove away the Gnar. And honestly, given how game 1 just went, I don't blame them. So if we see 2 top lane bans come out of X7, I think it just might go to show how dominant of a performance Shikari had in game 1.
On the other side, Bifrost are thinking, okay, do we remove the pull away from Kasing? Do we take away those dive champions to the bot side? Kasing didn't perform as we thought he would in the previous game, but now they're taking away AD carries, which means they do not believe that this Kai'Sa will be a bot lane. They think this is an Eminence thing. I know they played on the LCK, but come on. We did it first, okay? Just pointing it out.
We did do it first. But yeah, definitely a call out there saying, all right, we don't think that this is going to be Kai'Sa in the bot lane. It still has the flexibility to play bot, but of course right now the flavor of the month pick is the Kai'Sa in the mid lane, Renata Glask, which that just signifies to me whatever X7 are going to draft in their final 2 picks, it's going to be a lot more dive. So they want to make sure that there's no Renata coming out. For Bifrost now, what do you think? Last bans, last couple of picks to finish out their draft.
The Kai'Sa can go still both places if they want. I think Yasuo should still be maybe even banned here. Yasuo with Diana, and Yasuo's pretty good against Ahri as well. Can block the entire combo from her. I would actually like to see a Yasuo come out here from X7 and then put the Kai'Sa bot lane.
Do you think still? Because at least to me, I think Kai'Sa does have a really rough time into the Xayah lane. So you're still pretty confident that they'll be okay with this, putting Yasuo in the mid lane and sort of laning out more through the mid jungle as opposed to the bottom lane 2v2.
I think X7 still has to look at what the strong side is, and the strong side is still their mid jungle. Then I would rather go and say, okay, we take a hit bot lane, which we already will take a hit in probably, and then we get like a good combo mid jungle, and they can try and carry it.
How do you counter the dive? You bring something that can lock in a specific target and don't allow it to move. We've seen this before as well. I mean, everybody's taking notes from the JDXL sort of genius moment in this Champion Select, but no, it's going to be the Nautilus. It's a way to stop everybody and also knock up everybody. You have the C-Boy playing with the Volibear as well. Whenever I see Volibear nowadays, I'm like, you have Dan being like, Dan to me is Volibear right now. Last pick for Bifrost. To wrap it up, what do you feel that they're lacking?
I mean, they kind of have a little bit of everything already. Some engage. They could use a little more, admittedly, but I don't think it's necessary at all. They could go for another carry in Shikari's hands, but there we go. We had the Nautilus. It's the only sort of true form of hard engage. They wanted a little bit extra, so they're going to whack Shikari onto the Ornn. And let's see, because I mean, Jaeger, he's pulled out the Vayne before. Off the top of my head, individually it was okay. I think they lost that game, so let's see, because there is quite a bit of point and click CC available to lock it down. I don't think it'll be the case. I think it's going to be something a little more standard. And in fact, there we go. The Kai'Sa will still end up in the mid lane. They're going to chuck the Jhin into the bottom lane, and the Jace, I would imagine, goes up into Shikari. So a bit of a mix of everything from X7. They have a little bit of dive, they have a little bit of poke. I think what we're likely going to see here is, you know, attempted setup around objectives into poke, and then once they finally find an angle, they're going to try and send Rakan in there with the Diana to try and execute on what they found from the Jace and the Kai'Sa poke.
At the end of the day, looking into both Champion Selects, where do you believe the game will focus?
If I was Bifrost, I would focus on the mid lane. Kai'Sa AP mid is probably has a very slow time spiking up to the point, and if they begin camping her, because she doesn't have a lot of escape over from Volibear and Ahri, then the scale will be very slow, and they will maybe even get to roll the ball this time. So I prioritize the Bifrost draft a lot this game. Yeah,
and I agree with Mikma here. I think you have to just try and punish the Kai'Sa pick. It's the easiest pick to punish in your draft at the moment. I think trying to pick on Jhin Rakan is going to be a little bit difficult. Still definitely doable, but when you've got Kai'Sa in the mid lane, she's very good at the 1v1s, 2v2s early game. It's not really her strong suit right now. And I think when you've got Ahri, when you've got Volibear, you're suited for skirmishing in the mid game, or in the early game, sorry.
Tempt is one of the key pieces for X7, and the momentum is in favor of Bifrost. Will they be capable of getting the 4th victory versus X7 throughout the entire split, or will X7 finally find a blow in the shield of Bifrost? We don't know, but without further ado, is to toss it to the casters, initialize alongside with Amera.
Thank you so much, guys. No crazy intro this time. We're going to be serious for a moment.
Get that out of our system.
None of that.
You know how it goes.
Clearly, they've been watching. Like, what did they expect from us? Anyway, the desk called it out. I completely agree. Can you pick on the Kai'Sa? Can you get the Volibear into mid lane with the Ahri to lock down the CC and make sure that Tempt cannot play the game?
I think you can, yeah. You know, you have the Volibear versus Diana. Diana, if you let her get out of control, will become very relevant very, very quickly.
I did some stat hunting while that was happening on, specifically for Haru's Diana. He is 3-0 on it this split, 12 KDA, plus 37 CS at 15 minutes, plus 1500 XP at 50 minutes. 100% first blood rate on the Diana with a 589 DPM.
Gosh.
Add those stats to Haru's, so you put the nameplate on the Diana, add those stats in, and you have to understand, yes, there is perhaps for comp discrepancy. You heard the desk saying, look, we like what this team for Bifrost can do, but Haru's Diana is well worth a first-round pick. He is that damn good at the champion.
But speaking of, you know, all of the early game leads, the first blooded thing in particular, I mean, you look at X7's comp, that is 5 incredibly low HP squishy champions.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't get early leads in this game, say goodbye to all your carries. They are going to die incredibly quickly, and very few things can bail them out. X7 need to hit hard, need to hit early, and need to stay ahead of the curve of the game. If they stay ahead, they have ample amounts of damage to pick off members of Bifrost and explode through team fights. But if they fall behind, the game gets very, very difficult for them.
If you could hit 3 items on these carries, I mean, like Jace, AP Kai'Sa,
well, even
Jhin.
2 items, right?
Yeah, like
for the Kai'Sa
like
point.
You can start basically playing just like keep away and doing the damage. If you can hit that damage onto OD, if you can hit that onto Fury, those are pretty key targets. But you're right, if you do start falling behind and you get these big beef balls just jumping at you, things get quite tricky. And both teams, honestly, for the longest periods of that mid-game, really struggled to make their engages work. Both Duel and Kasing were going in, getting isolated and struggling. But honestly, over the course of this split, both have been really incredible as Tempt just using the level 1 power, trying to get that plasma stack off, but takes an electrocute trade in recompense. I was going to say trade in the same sentence. That would be an English faux pas. I can't do that.
That's not how it works.
Like, I did a degree for a reason. Like, I've got to be able to use different words. That's how it works.
But you can see Tempt there trading with a single, as low a target Q as he can. Actually didn't get the optimal trade either ways, but still, level 1, level 2 from Kai'Sa, very nasty to play against. And Tempt getting an early push in. You can see actually that Ari's gone for the dematerializer here. Very much helps once you do go for 3 stacks onto the backline. You clear backline minions from level 7, so you get very early ability to shove in waves in a very oppressive manner. Tempt has a cleanse, has a flash, but won't have to need to use either. Seaboy briefly thought about going mid and then chose to go towards Raptors instead.
Indeed, and of course, Tempt with the early shove to go put down that Raptor ward. And I do kind of, now we've had that least brief conversation about the options in mid as Tempt landing a great Void Seeker there. It might be worth just talking a little bit about our supports, and specifically Duel, who, again, both supports had an interesting first game where both were kind of the targets, overextended, were kind of the point of the spear, but when both teams were trading back and forth, it got a bit difficult. But Duel has been an utter monster this split.
Yes, and the funny thing about those 2 stats, which he's second in, he's actually second to Kasing in both those stats.
Yes.
But the fact that the XP is up from this support means that often your support is staying in lane, as opposed to one of our previous series when we talked about Dusty. FGG was never in lane. Huge XP deficit because he's just roaming about and making plays elsewhere. See that Duel, see that Kasing both want to play through the 2v2 and allow their AD carries to really brawl and start initiating 3v3s rather as well. And that was largely what we saw in that last game as well. So not the script in that one, as much as we hate scripts here in the NLC. We'd love to tear them up and have loads of upsets. That one has stayed fairly true so far.
Odie and Duel have been such a big win condition for Bifrost across this split. I think it's fair to say. I remember his Tahm Kench came through, getting 1v2 double kills. Yes, the kill participation is still high, but so is the XP difference, as you were saying. And we're potentially going to have a bit of a mid 2v2. Can Tempt escape, though? Will not quite escape the Sky Splitter. Going to try and turn this around. The charm misses, and now the turnaround can start coming through. Seaboy has to flash over the wall. Great patience from Haru and Tempt, who get the summoner and don't burn any themselves.
This is one of the big bonuses of someone like Diana. You clear so quickly that you have this extra window of time to just kind of sit there.
It's going to be on Gromp as well.
React to something happening on the map.
Brutal
Something
stuff.
that Olaf was very, very famous for back in, season 6, 7, 8, when he really started coming into the meta at that period of time. Diana has that ability to just sit, and you can use your brain and your voice to communicate where you're going to be on the map and allow your team to act accordingly. Gets into the play, and Seaboy, unlike last game, unable to make their early presence be felt quite as strongly.
No, not yet. And again, Haru, who started that last game off so well. But despite what we were seeing on screen in that last game, Bifrost was still quietly getting leads because they had the shoves in bot lane, because they got the plays, and because actually X7 could never turn those skirmishes into actual leads, into actual structures. The team came online, and despite Soul Point, they just couldn't make it work. And Bifrost's mid to late game and early game triaging was so strong.
But what we saw last game in particular was X7 playing into the strengths of Bifrost.
True.
That's the way that I would
I can agree with that.
Game. I think that's largely how it felt to me. They went into the front to back, and actually they played really well in some of those fights. You can see them getting these picks, pushing the turnarounds, but they were still facing a bit of an uphill struggle just in terms of the champions that were on the table, as opposed to this game. If you are going into the 5v5s, I think it is easier to play it out as X7. Again, if they don't get a lead through their lanes, then you're playing against
then you need to wait for 3
lines
items,
with a hard to catch backline. And as much as you have so much damage and the ability to set that up with the Rakan, with Diana, with the ability to follow up with a Shock Blast, if you're behind and you miss out on certain item breakpoints, you're going to struggle to deal with having no front line against quite a strong one from the side of Bifrost.
Yeah, because a lot of those armor pen items at that point wouldn't come through till 3 items, really. And then you're into, the Ornn, the Nautilus, the Volley Bear, and yes, once you hit those 3 items, Jace kind of comes back online. Yes, the Kai'Sa will then start to hit a little bit harder because she's got to her item breakpoints. Yes, Jhin suddenly becomes a danger point again, but that is a long time for Bifrost to have command of the map if it was to come to that. And one of the pain points for last series was Shikari was quiet and then turned and got a triple kill and then started monstering Jaeger in a side lane, and that Camille did not work. This time it's a Jace early favored matchup who's going to have the pressure early, and currently Jaeger's feeling a little bit more stable right now, but I need to see this continue because we know what Shikari can do if he just gets to turn up.
He's been a little bit of the riders that were here, just turning up at the turn of the
5th fight. Yep.
All of that good stuff. He's been the cavalry charge to allow Bifrost to take some of these team fights a lot more in their stride. Now, the thing about this game, though, is, again, if you do get those early leads, Jace, if you get 2 shock blasts onto a priority target, someone like a Volibear doesn't even like that, right?
No.
Someone like an Ornn can just about stomach getting hit by a Jin W and maybe 1 or 2 other skill shots, because you're eating them up more efficiently than the rest of your teammates would do at that point. So if Jaeger gets very far ahead and starts leveraging their own advantages, I think X7 are in a very happy place, because that's something that, of course, they couldn't really do that last game when Shikari came online and even stopped Jaeger doing stuff in the side lane as the Camille.
Sure. I mean, and honestly, they're already feeling in a happier place, because last game, they were actually down 500, 600 gold from the way lanes had gone, because the way plates had gone. And stopping that back there means that Haru, who has now got Moonfall available, could looking to be making this bot lane a very dark night indeed.
There is an exhaust, there is an ult from the Xayah. It's not a juicy target. It's not the lowest hanging of all fruits. And speaking of Haru looking for things across the map, something that the desk are asking for is, can Bifrost do anything about this mid lane Kai'Sa? Answer is so far, absolutely not. You've got the tier stacking up more than healthily on Tempt. Tempt was pushing in early, taking good trades. Fury was kind of sat there going like, yeah, that's really nasty Halo bait
Yes.
trades. I'm not a big fan. Speaking of this mid lane, Duel has used the reset that OD has finally managed to get off to wander his way mid, take out some vision. That's very important. Again, vision when you're dealing with pick on both sides becomes even more paramount to take onto the table into your own advantage.
And Duel, with a couple of those roams, with those XP leads he does like to get, does have level 6 as the Herald has spawned, which is not always an easy thing to do as a support. It will give them an advantage if they choose to fight here, and I feel like X7 don't want that.
The only reason you end up getting that in time for the Herald spawn is that you actually go and leech some mid lane XP as well. I wasn't actually
2 roams mid.
See, the funny thing is,
I paid attention to this earlier in the split when we talked about this.
I mentioned this earlier in this. I was like, oh my gosh, I learned about this cool rotation that Damwon did in the semi-finals last year at Worlds, and
Never played
and then
off.
it never came up when I was on cast. So the one time it happens-ish is when I'm not paying attention to it. I feel so sad.
I was, though, just to give you that little edge there. So you taught me,
yeah.
I brought it forwards. So I'll still give you the credit.
It's incredible. You've made me look slightly intelligent. That's an impossible task.
It is quite hard. But, you know, I say that as your brother, and I love you dearly. But all the same, Tempt might be about to deal with a lot of love in the mid lane, as does avoid the charm. There was some serious fancy feet. As the top lane, though, Luna Rush will come forward into a Moonfall, and Shikari is dragged back in. And a Shock Blast brings down the Ornn.
Not able to flash clear of the edge of that ultimate, and Haru and Jaeger, they don't have themselves a Herald to bring to bear. Of course, that was taken by Bifrost, but with both those champions being really, really quick to destroy turret plays, particularly with Diana's passive, lethality built up early on Jaeger, you can see how much gold they're taking away from this turret immediately on. And again, what we talked about earlier, leads on the Jace, they tend to stick, they tend to be very important. Jaeger gets gold, danger sirens start blaring for Bifrost.
To the skies, Jaeger Den, and Haru comes crashing down out of them with a moon to their back, and there's no way out even with a flash.
Goes up like an angel and down like a wounded ox.
I was not expecting the old school Periphery reference, but there we are. Icarus doesn't live, by the way. He's very dead because the moon fell on him and the sun did too.
But he is
Anyway.
also half dead as well. Less happy in that kind of situation.
He's going to take a lot of damage here. Yes, you've got the Dredge line, but he's still chunked out. Will not need to blow any summoners, though, and I appreciate the luck in there as Tempt came roaming down, but it'll just be some HP.
But what it means is that even though C-Boy's roaming his way down towards this bot side, that's half HP on both bot laners from Bifrost. That's not a clean 3v3 angle. If you do have Haru on the side of the map as well, as you do, this stops Bifrost being able to look for more aggressive plays and trying to start off a big...
Zari might be having to burn the ultimate here. Yeah, does have to get away from that Crescent Strike, and that means ult down Ferrari. HP bars not in the position they want it for OD and Duel. That means X7 gets to turn straight over to this dragon, and while C-Boy's here, I don't know whether he wants this.
And you do have a teleport from Fury if you want to recall, get an item, and try and get yourself into a semblance of fighting potential, but... I mean, credit to Tempt where it's due, actually, on the side of this too. Tempt has been really pinning down this Ahri in the laning phase. Not much for Bifrost to play around from that one mid lane. Now, Haru and Kree starting up the dragon with a preferential angle.
Fury over the wall will have Charm. That's a hook though from Duel. They're going to try to turn this around, but the quickness is there. Haru secures the smite again. He's been so clutch with those this game. C-Boy has to flash out. Unstoppable met the Moonfall. Couldn't quite drag him in with its gravitational pull. The feathers go out, but they won't quite get enough out of it. No ability to draw them back. And it's just everyone going out with Summoners blown, but no deaths. Shikari trading up with Jaeger. Does manage to interrupt the to the skies there with the shove.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice little trade, but it doesn't lead to much. I mean, the important thing about that is that Shikari was sat on the Spellbook Ignite, so couldn't teleport into that play. There was no ability to have the Call of the Forge God impact that fight. Bifrost look for something in a grouped engagement, and they kind of overestimate their own potential.
Herald, of course, is currently in OD's pocket, by the way. Of course, that was
That's
earlier
a big thing
came
to
through.
put in the pocket. There must be like some kind of dimensional bag.
Look, it's an eye. It's not.
Bag
It's not actually the whole Herald. It's like a summoning idol.
So, well, that's a lot of crab meat to be carrying around on your person. You got a permit for that crab meat? But you
I didn't think I was going to need a permit for crab meat today, but here we are. I suppose it kind of counts as like.
Well, Duel's looking for the dangerous catch in topside. C-Boy's found his way up there. Haru, Jaeger, disengaged, no flash on the Diana.
Staying beyond the minions. Duel does not have flash, but can look for the Dredgeland. Will not wait it out, and there's a heal pop there by Shikari, who's who that was, of course, because he had the spellbook. That was not actually the flash, of course. It's just the summoner spellbook heal. Herald summon top. That will go into Odie's pocket, but I don't think we'll get too much more.
You get 2 plates, that's 320 gold. That's still something, particularly because you look at how Jin's been doing, you look at Nata, and you think, okay, well, he's going to be fine. He's got the same amount of plates down on that bot side. It's just evening it up. And when you have less carries on the side of Bifrost, because you look at the side of X7 and you go, huh,
Everyone
everyone does decent damage.
It's not going to be Everfrost kissing. So Everfrost Rakan.
Sorry, Rakan.
Yeah, he's not Everfrost. Medic somewhere is quite upset.
I mean, he's got the Kindle Gem there.
I'll get to, you know,
There's the chance.
I didn't want to say it, but yes, there is.
But still, I mean, when you have lesser carries, you do want to funnel them even more.
Ooh, okay, supercharge it into the flash because of Duel, who has been looking to play silly games, secret games with that Hex Flash. Does manage to catch Tempt a little off guard, and the Summoner finally popped on the 3rd gank in mid lane.
Yeah, channels the Hex Flash and curses. Not going to work out on that one. But it is still a flash away from the Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa isn't quite online yet. Still not able to pull off the crazy kill combos that we can see from that champion. Once it gets 2-3 items and unlock particularly the Q and the W upgrades. X7, once again, allowing Jaeger to pick up more gold. This time it is the death of the turret in the top side. It's going to be some good damage and good gold coming out. More to the effects of this team. C-Boy taking a deep Hextech portal in. Of course, that is the rift that we're on. Allows you to play some weird old macro around the map, and it also allows Bifrost a bit of an inside track angle towards the spot lane turret.
C-Boy needs to be a little afraid. That's a massive discrepancy in items and golds and level, and you're just not winning that trade. Haru keeps tracing forward with a lunar rush of blood to the head, and C-Boy is decapitated as X7 pull the kill off. Goes into Nata's pocket there. Nicely played.
I might be wrong, but I feel like C-Boy used the Q as an auto-attack cancel to try and kill the ward quicker, meaning he didn't have the stun for the Diana that came in afterwards. Just, I get that you're playing around the strong side of the map. You're playing around group members, but sometimes you got to be a lot more careful.
Herald's up, they lose it.
When you don't have the vision to support those kinds of players. C-Boy rightfully punished.
I know you've got a chem tank. I know you're vaguely tanky, but just not that tanky, and just not tanky enough, rather, to get that phrasing correct. It'll come at the cost of that second Herald. It'll come at the cost of bot lane pressure. We'll see this play again. It looked like an initially interesting Hextech fight. He walks back!
You see the ward's been put down. And yeah, he uses the Q as an auto-attack reset, which means you can't stun Diana. Diana has a lot of damage when she gets into melee range and starts attacking you. And it's a bit of greed, a little bit of disrespect from C-Boy. Thinking, look, bot lane's pushing in, but Duel, of course, doesn't have the flash, can't flash the wall to quickly follow up on a play. It's just a misjudgment from the Bifrost jungler.
Absolutely was, and it turns out while he's not quite a werewolf, Moon Silver Blades will still do just enough work against the demigod there.
Maybe where they kept the Herald was a warehouse. Have you heard about them?
Only becomes a house at night?
It only turns into a house on the full moon.
Yeah, it's just a person turns into a house. That's the ultimate awkward storage. I like it.
Boop. I got 2 stories now.
You know when I said story time when we were practicing? That wasn't what I meant.
It's actually got an E in there. Story. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the other version of the word.
That's upsetting.
What also might be upsetting is the outcome of this fight. It does feel like X7 have a lot of good items to bring to bear for this fight. A lot of Mythics. Mythics out for pretty much everyone but the supports. Stopwatch, though. However, they're seeing plenty of chance to affect this fight.
Warge Gorge summoned. Nata did gale force away, but he's stunned up. He didn't get over the wall. The Orb Deception will get that kill. And Haru's turned around. Tempt gets that one as Haru secures the kill onto Fury. Mid laner for AD carry. Herald summon in mid to get half the HP bar there. And Duel so very low, but so is Kasing. X7 rotate back to the Dragon. And they're going to start this one up, but there's a lot of ultimates down across the board. What can Jaeger get done? What can Tempt get done with their poke?
You don't have one of your two carries here now from Bifrost. You have a flash and you have an ultimate from Odie who is full HP. That's dangerous for X7 to deal with.
All right, now Tempt's in trouble. They over-engage. Flash, Featherstorm! Blade Caller secures Kai'Sa. She is dead. And Bifrost get the over-eager X7 with their hand in the cookie jar.
After Haru worked so hard on that mid lane play to get a multi-man Diana ult, chunk out the side of Bifrost. They don't deal with the Xayah after that point. Odie, who had a bit of an awkward game in game one, getting caught out numerous times on the center and having to play out the rest of the fight from a very long range after he was getting chunked out time after time, has the time to impact this one. This is Nata going down without really impacting this at all, but Haru spares the blushes of X7. You can see how much work he managed to do, and then also managing to stasis after that point to give himself that invulnerability to play around, disengage the fight a little bit more. But after this point, you don't actually have any of your big engage tools after this point, and they walk into Duel, and Duel, again, we talked about how important he is alongside Odie for the side of Bifrost, and they walk away with a preferential fight.
Odie, though, gets caught out, and he's deleted. What is a bird before the moon? Look who the sky really belongs to.
Just as we praise him, he gets caught out, going just a little bit too far beyond the safe vision line. And X7, Haru leading the charge, taking an absolute sitting free kill.
A reminder, Haru undefeated on Diana this season. 12 KDA, 37 CS up at 15, 1500 XP up at 15, 100% first blood participation, and 589 DPM before this game began. He is a monster on this champion. He has 2 items complete now. There is still the gold lead. And that last fight around Dragon was the break point before the second items begin to get complete from X7. From here on out, it begins to get harder unless Bifrost can staunch the bleeding.
But I mean, Bifrost did get the second Dragon. It means that X7 potentially can stall out a little more. Jaeger, he is on a 1v2 right now.
The exhaust comes through. He's in a lot of trouble. There is no flash. There is a stun. And the double demigods of the Freljord will bring down the Jace, though not before a little work gets done as Haru, trading onto Duel, gets that kill that Nata picks up from downtown. Gale falls forward onto Seaboy, trying to trade it out. Flash forward from Haru's Luna, rushing as far in as he can. Double kill for Nata, now trying to survive, but the turnaround from Bifrost is here. They have collapsed quick. Tempt can't get here. And Kasing will try and knock up some people, but will not be able to escape. He gets knocked down, and it ends up being a 3 for 2, all things said and done.
But Tempt wasn't there to follow up on the fight. Maybe if you had the Kai'Sa ult flying in from the side, you can think about that one and a little more earnest, but you don't have 2 items on your Kai'Sa. You got them on your Diana, sure, great, you can play around that, but this one was not really in the hands of X7's mid laner to impact. And Jaeger, we've had questions about his side laning earlier into the split. He's on the Jace, has tons of gold, but he can't do the 1v2 against these 2 champions at that point. Even with his team coming to bail him out, just the communication not quite there at that point. Haru seriously impacting this game, but it does feel like everything is in the palm of his hands and everyone else is struggling to match his rhythm. It's really difficult for X7 to follow up on Haru's great plays because they're the ones which are getting focused on by the side of Bifrost.
So it was a great counter room from X7. Difference there was Fury had the TP. Tempt didn't. He gets to turn up and turn the end of that fight into a numbers advantage. Still,
put it this way, right? Put it this way. You have the ult on Tempt and you are moving everyone down bot side. You have more than ample time to move the Kai'Sa down with them. It did lead to a large chunk on the mid lane tower, but if that's what you're going for, maybe don't commit as hard onto that bot side. Maybe you can try and disengage that.
Go again.
Yeah, you go. Caught again in a 1v2. Jaeger inside laning. It's just not been him this game.
Gonna try and play this one out best he can, but again, he just gets pulled apart by the bushes. There's just no wards. Look at that river. It's so dark.
And this is after X7 moved so many people down in that last play to try and secure some safety for the Jace. We talked again how important that would be,
boy, it's vision games all around. There's no way out. I don't think he's going to try and get interrupted out. He's got a flash potentially. We'll have to pop it. Avoids the deadly flourish for now. The curtains are called, but they will not land until the last one does. Sniper from downtown.
That's that last shot. The shield wears off. Crickery for the 4th bullet. Now it's picking up a little hard-earned kill on that one, but
He's 420 and blazing through this game, I tell you. Look at that scoreline, doing so well. Has got himself a last whisper at this point. He's looking to get that Lord Dominic's regard completed as soon as he can. 25 seconds until this next Dragon. This would be so point for Bifrost, though. And I don't think X7 are actually going to be in position to contest this one, aside from the fact they do have the Scuttle Crab, which is uncontestable vision.
And it's 10 seconds until it spawns. Do they go for a back? So Bifrost not in position to fully pick off X7 should they look for a big play. That's 2 items completed for the Kai'Sa, though. If you want to fight, maybe it starts with sitting and waiting for these Ws to land. Remember, if they hit, it's 77% of that cooldown refunded. Means it comes down to like a 3 or 4 seconds.
Watch for the Hex Flash. Gonna try and get over the wall. Duel's gonna get onto Nata, surely. Watch Fury as well. The flank will not quite work as well as they want. They get a charm on Tempt a little more. The engage, the quickness is there, but it's not quite quick enough until Tempt secures C-Boy. Jungler dead. Odie at the back end does kill off Jaeger, but on the other side, Bifrost are being deleted. It is a Thimble Winter, the fall of the Norse gods this time around, and Tempt secures it. What is a god before the Void?
Game 1, X7 tried to out-skirmish, tried to outfight, but honestly, the comps just didn't fit what they were trying to put to their opponents. This time, it's a much easier affair, and they're doing it with a gold lead as well. They stabilized their early game. They picked a comp that could brawl a little more against this team, and they come out and they take a well-earned fight.
The range advantages begin to sink home. The engage advantages begin to sink home. The range that X7 can jump on people from is pretty obscene. Mid-tower won't quite fall. They've evened up the Drakes. They are still a hefty amount up in this game.
And we were talking about this right from the start of the game. X7, you gotta stay ahead. You gotta hit your item breakpoints early, and then you can really start hammering home these big fights with so much damage. You don't have the ability to play defensively that well. You don't have that much tank. You're working around Zhonya's, and that's kind of it. But they have, credit to them, managed to reach that point. They get there with a lead. They hit their 2 items on the Kai'Sa, and they take an explosive fight to open up this game well and truly. Tempt, now such a threat on the map. Struggle to get involved, but again, look at these Ws landing. Keep tracking how much they do. The Jhin can help land them afterwards, and every one of those Ws you're going to be zeroing in on and thinking, ow, that hits. That is so much ability from Bifrost taken away from them in the fight.
Of course, Odie on this Xayah, this lethality Xayah's Tempt just face checks Tuel. Was not expecting that. I don't think it's going to be too much difference, though. Just the back interrupted. Lands the Void Seeker afterwards, which, of course, 77% of that cooldown goes, and he gets to keep firing. Jaeger has found the gank this time. Shikari forced to flash. Does so early to avoid the To the Skies, but it's going to be off cooldown quick enough, getting as much damage down as they can. Here comes Haru as well, and Shikari needs to prepare. Start the battalions coming through. Teleports now coming down as well, and Haru in a spot of bother. Does get knocked up. There's a blast cone available, but can they get over the wall? Good stopwatch. Does not have flash. Sure to go down. Big chunk, but Fury has got a Spirit Rush. And X7 overextend. The teleport turns around.
Every time X7 go towards Jaeger's lane, something goes horribly wrong. He is sat at one.
Fury teleports every time.
Teleports every time. And this time it was actually Odie coming down on the Xayah too. It would have been difficult even without Ahri's involvement.
No.
And with the mistake made several times in a row, Bifrost are emboldened to start up the Baron.
Tempt is here, so is Nata. They can do a lot of work over this wall. They need to be a little afraid of how much damage they can do. Kai'Sa doubles begin to fly over the wall. Duel does get a root onto Kasing, but little more. Baron down to half HP. 3v5. There is a teleport on Jaeger to come in. Tempt goes to the backside, tries to get the kill, but gets exhausted. In goes Kasing, but he's rooted up. The feathers fly, get Blade called back, and that will be a dead support. Nata go for it. Got the kill, but does actually get off Fury at the end of it all. But now can they escape? Bifrost so low, trying to play this one out best they can. Tempt over the wall, trying to do their best. C-Boy gets a stun, trying to stop as much damage that they have split up. C-Boy still alive though. Jaeger, one final shock blast would bring C-Boy down to size. Misses it, and Bifrost get out with 4. Wait, no, not quite yet. Does get the kill. Not quite. Jaeger does go to the skies, but now he needs to get out of here. Can they escape? The call of the Force God is back off cooldown. Jaeger gets knocked up. Will surely go down to a brittle proc. The bellows are breathed out, and the fire of the Forge cuts the man from Piltover down. Not much of a man of tomorrow when tomorrow is a grey screen.
And Bifrost the ones wielding the hammer to forge themselves the semblance of a parts of a victory in this game. And after so long of being behind in this game, having to take whatever X7 threw at them, they take one good win on the side lane, and they just decisively strike towards the Baron. It was very risky, but they're the ones on the front line that can tank up this objective. There was no Haru in this fight to really lead the engage, and Kasing gets really stunted on his own attempt too. I mean, attempt is strong, but turns out the Wolves really started disengaging him from that fight. It's like, okay, one more auto, but in very, very much dead. But Bifrost have to seriously respect their ability to say, this is the time to go, this is where we can get ourselves into a winning position.
At least it kind of slows down the reset, which means it's not going to be the best position for some of these waves, and that might stall the Baron, but we're back to live. We've got a Dragon in 50 seconds, and this could get a bit spicy.
The way that I would call it, it's gamesmanship. It's knowing the path to victory and saying, okay, this is how X7 are winning the game. This is how we can break it open. Every time X7 had gone towards that Jace, they had struggled really to deal with buying enough time for the Jace before he went down. They have a lot of damage, but they can't play defensively. If Bifrost are the ones picking off people just a little separated, they're the ones which are very, very happy. They're looking for it again.
Go again. The root prevents the follow-up. Now Kasing needs to try and get out. He gets knocked up, though, and get traded out for it. Odie so low! Doesn't quite go into the deadly flourish, though. He will stay alive, but the curtains are called. Can Odie stay alive? He is so important to this upcoming Dragon fight. It's a lethality Xayah. That is not the easiest person to heal up. There's no bloodthirst and nothing like that. The range from downtime. The Void Seeks, the Void finds.
He has not played enough ARAMs against his champion. Tempt finds such an important kill, and that's going to give X7 a free Dragon.
They got the mid-tier too. They'll get the Dragon. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Support for AD carrying that so much of the damage. Void Seekers continuing to fly. So deadly at 3 items. They won't even get a mid lane turret for it. Seaboy clears up some Krugs. They get no turrets off this Baron. There's 20 seconds left.
Bifrost worked so hard to get it. Now, they're going to have to stare down X7, looking at them and saying, so, about that next Dragon, want to meet us there in 4.5 minutes? And they say, well, no, I wouldn't really like to, but I have to. They've taken the Baron off that table. They're not able to make a second play like that back-to-back until that objective spawns. The Baron power play is gone, and X7 finds such a crucial kill.
You can see the uncertainty there in Odie. He was debating, do I go for the Collector, do I go for something else? I just don't know. He's got 4 items. He's got upgraded Eclipse. It is a syzygy, an alignment of the planets and stars, but you're up against Haru on this Diana, 3 items, the moon, the scourge of the moon. What are the stars before that? You're looking at a 3-item attempt here right now with this Void Staff complete. So much damage, 3 items and Jace. You need to stay alive, and Xayah has always struggled into poke.
I mean, with this one, at least you have the ability to play through your QE combos.
Yeah, that's true.
You have a bit of regen from the Eclipse, which gives you some Omnivamp, and that can help just a little bit, particularly the amount of CDR you have in your build too. You have more ultimates off cooldown. Lots of things which are slightly different from the old Crypt Xayah that we saw so much of.
Very true.
Back in the last Kai'Sa Xayah meta, now they've both gone towards Poke Champions. It's a weird time to be playing these 2 marksmen. But
it's not quite 2018, but not as you know it.
Speaking of the item choices of this Xayah, I actually wonder if a Maw would have been a good choice at this point.
Yeah.
The question is, do you have enough damage without it? You're not playing into a big front line, and I love what Shikari's doing. If Xayah's not going to be the tank, I can be one for you. Shikari just holds the door shut and says, no, I'll be taking that.
Mr. Odie,
if you want,
I can't carry the game for you, but I can carry you.
You can just leave your skill shot in the wardrobe. You can pick it up in a couple of minutes. Maybe you'll have lost the game by that point.
Oh, lordy, takes so much damage.
Don't do that, Nautilus.
It's not a tank. In goes Kai'Sa with a killer instinct, and down goes Nautilus back into the depths, but it's the support.
They're going.
Support. Trade. Seaboy begins thundering forwards. Tempt will not be able to try out. Tempt is down as Fury unleashes some vengeance. And that is potentially a big deal. A minute until Baron. A minute until 2.5 minutes until Dragon.
Seaboy's going. He knows he's on the offensive here.
Wait, I don't know whether he's gone too deep. He's going to be so tanky. He's not tanky enough. About to get knocked up by Haru. The charm from Fury. Move full flash won't work. And now Jaeger is left alone.
And X7 cannot play defensively. Whenever they are on the retreat, whenever they're on the back foot, things go from bad to worse for them. They need to keep slapping Bifrost around the map and say, you cannot find an opportunity to all in us. Haven't quite managed to keep Bifrost enough on the back foot. They haven't kept that tempo up in their favor, and they're seriously punished for this botched attempt.
It looked so good to begin with, but Jaeger is chunked out. Kasing misses though, and then he's dead, and then the teleport is through, and it is all hands on deck to escape. Attempt, nowhere to go, no lantern, no escape, no supercharger. The fuel just runs out.
Now they're trying to ride the last of the momentum.
This was so
Gold,
close.
which
Though. This was so close.
It was very close, but even with that, you've still got 2 solo laners going to be there. You're going to lose them. It's just whether you trade back at that point.
We go again.
Bifrost goes straight towards the Baron, not content to allow X7 to go forward.
Oh, the turnaround! Fury goes in and goes down. The turnarounds in this series have been so extreme. Tempt is there trying to trade out best he can, but it will be Kasing falling down. Support for mid laner as well. You take out Nata, though, would be a bigger prize. Haru's back, though. Jaeger gets duel, and now the fight commences. Shikari, this god, this player of the top lane that's been so good. The feathers fly, but they will not give wings to the top laner. Shut down by Haru, and they turn to Baron.
Bifrost, again, we can see how they've succeeded in the last few minutes is by continually finding that counterpunch, the ability to play aggressive, but this time, they're finally taken apart on this. It's Fury going on a one-man mission, gets a charm, but boom, Kasing finally gets that important combo, and yes, they end up getting taken down towards the back end of this with help from Odie's Collector, but you've already taken down one half of the big damage, and Odie eats 2 ice doubles in a row. You can't fight after that point. Tempt, in a number of cases in this game, has found pivotal skill shots onto the backline of Bifrost.
M&S often dominated conversations for best mid laner, and rightly so in a lot of ways in the regular season, but Tempt has been nothing but consistent in this game with nearly a death cap to his name. He has been nothing short of a miracle worker right now for X7. 17-7 is the kill score. A Baron to X7, a soul on the line, and we have battle lines drawn again.
Okay, remember, winner of this series goes to EU Masters. Stamp
Oh, lordy lord! It's a trade, but it's a Baron. Well, sorry, a Dragon back to X7. The Baron, of course, already went down, but so are the members of Bifrost. Fury is running away, and Shikari left to the Wolves, left to Tempt, and it will be another kill going to Nata. Quadra kill, the Jin Penta, it's so appropriate.
Oh, and X7, they get the soul. They force Bifrost to come into them. They won't be out team fought that many times in a row. X7 stamp their foot down and they say, we are not done yet. This will not be a 3-game series. We will find ourselves that first fleeting victory versus the team they couldn't find one against in the regular season.
And yes, Josiah might be able to play at a bit longer range with lethality, but not at the artillery ranges that X7 have this game. Knocked up and down again as Fury. The Ahri has no way out. Jewel is alive, but he will do nothing else. X7 onto the Nexus. They'll pick up some more kills to pad the stats. Can Odie do some more? No, he will not. X7 tie the series, and man, we have one on our hands today.
I am loving these skirmishes and team fights. Are they always clean? Absolutely not. We're seeing our fair share of mistakes made in these fights, but you can feel the tension. You know what's on the line here. You win here, you go to EU Masters. You don't know which stage of it you're going to, but you qualify. X7 keep themselves in the conversation.
Absolutely, they do. And a reminder, Bifrost undefeated no longer against X7, their first ever loss to the organization. But we have to cut to a break, mainly so I can rest my voice, because we've still got at least 2 more
Quick,
games.
awkward throw.
Oh, no. I hate you so much sometimes. Why are you like this?
See you after the break.
Bye.
We hope.